Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Barbarian and we have news when it comes to Victoria 3's upcoming National Awakening DLC. We're going to see this DLC come out on the 23rd of September. Now do keep in mind that I am also going to be in Stockholm later in August and hopefully I can tell you a couple of details there as well, but for the time being let's just keep in mind 23rd of September is when this DLC comes out. That is amazing news. We are in this video going to talk a bit about what we know so far about this DLC. I will tell you everything that you need to know. I will also be doing another info video for the channel members in the coming days and then indeed a lot of content coming in August. I am incredibly excited for the stuff that we can make happen. Now for starters right here, this is of course the very first immersion pack National Awakening of Expansion Pass 2 and it will be coming with a free update 1.10. This is actually what I kind of want to focus on entirely or almost entirely because they have teased now something related to religion and culture that is getting reworked in this patch as well. We don't know exactly what this looks like. We are getting some hints there and I definitely want to take a look at this right there. As the name suggests, National Awakening will lead you through the rise of new nations. With a focus on the Austrian Empire and the Balkan region, you will get to experience both the struggle of the old empires to remain intact and the ambitions of their nationalist competitors. Will you maintain control over your empire or will you choose to fight for the independence of your nation? Will your people be subjects or will they be citizens? This right here then indeed is the trailer. They have now released this trailer right here and I recommend that you watch it. It isn't too long, it is just a teaser at the end of the day, right? An announcement trailer. All of this, if I understand this correctly, is actually on the paper map that comes with this DLC. We're gonna see just how good this paper map looks, but it seems as if they're going a bit harder on actually putting images into the ocean here, right? This right there is clearly the west coast of Australia, which to me is something very easy to see, but I think in general people would be like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Now you can see that they are showcasing some journal entries, they are also showing some events. This is the Hungarian Revolution right there with a couple of buttons. I assume that we're getting army skins from the looks of it right here for Austria and for the Hungarians. Oh, that's actually interesting. You think it's going to be like Germans and then Hungarians, or maybe they both get the same skin? I don't really see any differences. I do think that this looks different from anything else that we have gotten so far. The rest of the panorama, however, looks pretty much the same. Now, like I said, this is the 23rd of September and it is all about the Austrian Empire and then indeed minorities in general, which will of course touch on the Slavs, on, for example, the Ottoman Empire and so on as well. If we take a look at this infographic right here, let's take a look at this real quick and check out what they got for us. Austrian Empire. Events and journal entries related to the rule of Metternich and the identity of Austria as a unitary empire, union of crowns or federations of nations. So clearly now you get an option to define what is Austria, what is the Austrian Empire, and you're going to see this later as well. We have something called the USGA. If you've played Victoria 2, then you will doubtlessly know this, the United States of Greater Austria. Next to this, we have the fate of Hungary, dedicated flavor related to Hungary and its position within or outside of the Austrian Empire. Very interesting. Is of course the kind of logical step here to do when you have the Austrian Empire as a big topic, right? Hungary is the second, the junior partner of this arrangement anyway. Balkan nation building. Content revolving around nationalism and nation building in the Balkan states, Serbia, Montenegro and Bulgaria. Interesting that we're not seeing anything for Greece, although maybe that could be something related to religion like Orthodoxy, for example. Who knows, but these are of course the obvious candidates because they exist at the very start of the game here. Obviously we have then countries that kind of are spat out by the Ottomans or respectively by the Austrian Empire here. A bit surprising to me, and I think technically, legally speaking, it's not the Balkans, but Romania not being mentioned here, of course, I mean, it is one of those cases that was very important in this region as well. Then we have the struggle for independence, journal entries and historical events related to the Balkan Wars, the Great Eastern Crisis and the potential collapse of the Ottoman Empire. I'm kind of split on this, and this is what they have done now kind of I think several times over. Victoria 3 is the game that I am currently playing that really puts almost everything mechanical into the free patch, making sure that this is accessible by everybody. Everybody can enjoy the game that it kind of was, you know, created as. Obviously there are certain elements like power blocks and then what you can do with treaties, for example, that aren't in the base game, but by and large they are fully in the base game. Having historical stuff like this, I get it, right? This is France, this is Brazil, this is not exactly a new pattern. We've already seen this. But the Ottoman Empire, I guess, falling is so important that having it directly behind the DLC is kind of but realistically speaking, let's be real here, I'm just glad that we are finally getting content that turns that region into something a lot more interesting. Then we have Brotherhood and Unity, Yugoslav Unification journal entry introducing Yugoslavia or Illyria as a potential regional power. So I think this kind of comes from the angle, are we being unified by Serbia or are we being unified by Croatia? And maybe even additionally, right, do we kind of believe in Pan-Slavism? Where are you going from there? I really would love to see that ideology to become very important in future content, because of course this was what drove Russian foreign politics at the time as well. As already mentioned, after that we have a new map, then we also have a bunch of new art. We're going to see this on the Steam page as well. A lot of exciting stuff there. This will be $9.99. It is already of course included in Expansion Pass 2, should you have it there, and it comes with the free update 1.10. Like I said, 1.10, really interesting there, because while we don't have the details yet, clearly we're getting some reworks right there. And that is exactly what they're talking about here. We're kicking off this phase next week already, when narrative design lead Victoria will guide us through some upcoming changes that touch upon the central themes of national awakening, cultural fervor, and our rework to culture and religion traits. Be sure to check back on that. We're gonna do this. If you want to have all of the news for Victoria 3 in one place, then definitely subscribe to the channel, and let's move on to what is actually going on the Steam page, because there is a lot to talk about there. So this right here is the Steam page, of course, of Victoria 3 National Awakening. We're going to go over with these screenshots right here. I don't think, and I could be wrong here, but I am pretty sure that there's nothing new in the actual overview right here. I believe all of this stuff was already mentioned for this DLC before this actual reveal right now. I think we knew about all of this already, right? Serbia, of course, has the kind of rivalry between the Serbian royal houses of the Karađorđević and Obrenović dynasties. Then Bulgaria, you get something related to freedom and becoming the Prussia of the Balkans. I actually remember reading Prussia of the Balkans when this DLC page was released, so all of this is not exactly new. You can see what kind of content we are getting. Montenegro leading this tiny theocratic state to secular monarchy and potential expansion. We already saw now actually in the trailer, I believe, that there is a raiding mechanic which isn't extensive. It is handled apparently through a journal entry where you kind of make money off of raiding the Ottomans. You know, honestly, we'll see how it plays. Montenegro doesn't have too much potential when it comes to fun gameplay until you blob a little bit, because it is literally a one province minor. Let's take a look at this right here, a developing crisis. The future of the Ottoman Empire is at a crossroads. A growing number of secessionist political movements threaten the stability of our nation. So this is in 1865, and that is really interesting because we are finally now getting content past the sick man of Europe for the Ottomans. It should be mentioned here in 1865, the Ottomans are losing a war against Hungary, and they are, or well, this one is I guess fairly equal anyway. Oh, this is not Hungary. Sorry, it is the British Republic. Happens to the best of us that is being confused. And then we have indeed Egypt losing a war or winning a war against the Ottomans as well. The Ottomans here are in default. They are a minor ranking power of 27, and they might even actually be unrecognized, although that is difficult to tell. It should be the case since the actual journal entry here, of course, of the sick man of Europe is gone. Now this right here is the Great Eastern Crisis. Let's take a gander at this in the full-size version. So let's actually go over these screenshots in greater detail. We got the Great Eastern Crisis right here. A crisis is brewing. Our territory secessionists, so clearly this is cut off, right? There seems to be some type of support that we need to reinvigorate so that we can keep existing. If time runs out, triggers the event, a crisis unchecked, and then we get cultural and religious political movements lose waves of discord, possible event effects. So I think this journal entry basically has the potential to give you a certain set of various outcomes. This is something we will see as well with Austria, which is super interesting because it makes it so that there are multiple off-ramps in a journal entry rather than just the standard fail, time runs out, and success rate. I like this. What exactly this will look like, we have to of course see and play, but fundamentally I think this is a good idea. Let me just check this 1865. I don't see anything too interesting here on the world map. Oh yeah, look at this. These big images actually here on the world map. I like this. Can this displace my favorite Navy paper map? I'm not sure. Rumelian integrity has reached 100%. So clearly a new kind of concept that exists entirely for this journal entry. I assume that this means, hey, how stable are we? Have I achieved yet again Ottoman supremacy? Does not have seceding countries, does not have growing secession movements that I assume insurrectionary. Ottoman Empire is at peace. Any Ottoman political movement is secessionist. Movement culture is Serbian, and activism is less or equal to 25%. So this seems to be the primary concern right there. This is an interesting piece kind of here, right? I want to see how this develop. I most importantly want to see whether the AI can handle this, but in general I really like this dynamic. The Ottomans falling apart is of course kind of the bread and butter of an interesting endgame in that region. Then right here we have the Federal Solution, National Agenda Journal entry. This one seems very similar to me, kind of like a step up from the Brazilian journal entry. Let's take a look at this. So first of all, something that is being confirmed here is of course the fact that Austria and Hungary are separate entities on the map. We are running with that route, which makes sense now that we have power blocks, now that we have more complex vassal relationships, although this is most certainly going to be a massive nerf to Austria. I think that is clear. Austria already, of course, significantly weaker in these last few patches, but I think going forward it's only going to get worse for them. Here we can press a couple of buttons. I assume that we have something like, I don't know, political goodwill, that we have machinations that we can press there, right? Address Czech, Polish, Slovene, Romanian, Serbian, Ukrainian, North Italian, Croatian, Hungarian, and Slovak concerns. All of these minorities have a ton of concerns apparently. And then after that, we even need to sign into federalization or sign federalization into the law here in the empire. This is interesting because it is a tiered type of journal entry, right? How exactly do you proceed here? Who do you kind of persuade? This was, of course, how it was historically as well. I'm always wary though, and I will tell you this outright, when it comes to journal entries that just give you a ton of buttons. This is a lot of buttons, okay? I sure hope that this is deeply related to everything going on with the economics, with, you know, I don't know, trade, with the unification of Germany, that kind of stuff, and what I can do there. Do keep in mind that indeed, historically speaking, their Ausgleich really only took place because we were looking at an end to ambitions inside of Germany for Austria. They had to look towards their own empire and build something there. I hope that that kind of stuff also influences what opportunities and what options I have, but you know what, we'll see. Friction between the myriad nationalities of Austria, it is a myriad, has long been a danger to the integrity of the empire. Advocates for the rights of various nationalities have long called for various forms of federalization for the empire, and recent years have brought them in contact with members of the armed forces interested in radical reform in the name of upholding the dynasty. The proposed United States of Greater Austria, the most recent of these proposals, would abolish the old crown lands and replace them with a selection of self-governing states drawn along ethnic lines. This proposal has been met with opposition from Hungarian politicians who oppose it, proposed a division of historical Hungary, as well as the South German populations, which would likely become minorities within non-German states. That is the historical kind of tug of war that was, of course, going on here. Let's see, it has integrated 5 or more cultures. Okay, that is interesting. So we don't need to go with all of them. Man, this really does remind me of Kaiserreich. Is that just me? Is that just me that this very much reminiscent of Kaiserreich type of mechanic has signed federalization into law? Now, I do wonder whether there will be a federalization law or not. This could be something that is actually, you know, valid, I think, for all countries really in this particular playthrough, whether they are unitary, a federalization, or even more decentralized, that kind of thing. Could be interesting, but this being a button, I don't know, ultimately, right, you want to get rid of slavery as Brazil as well, and yet you have a button to just pass that law, because this is what happened kind of historically, what happened a little bit haphazardly in Brazil, of course, right? This is a super interesting thing. Man, the gameplay needs to kind of carry this over as well. I see a bunch of treaties. I think all of these were already there in the past. I see the Age of Metternich. We're going to see this in the future here as well. I think nothing else here is new or special. Yeah, okay, this is just a pretty standard overview right there. Obviously, we can also see the UI skin. Interesting stuff. I believe I'm either playing with the French one or I'm playing with the Dream one, both of which I really like. This looks okay, looks good, nothing wrong with it. Let's take a look at Ausgleich right here. A compromise has been reached. As per the agreement, Austria is to be restructured into the dual monarchy of Austria-Hungary, divided into Transleithanien, a territory ruled from Buda, and its Cisleithanien one ruled from Vienna. Let's take a look at this. Establish Transleitania in full union with the Triune Kingdom, and keep the Triune Kingdom under direct Austrian control. So either they become their separate vassal, or they become a part of Hungary, or you try to keep total control, to which I can only say I assume that this is going to be a disastrous thing to do. If we go... So this event right here is a part of the matter of Hungary. That's interesting. Okay, integrate the crown lands. Would press that button. At least 8 Austrian states, currently 0 fulfill this requirement. State is a Hungarian homeland. So basically you need to be in direct control, and you need to be in a position where their turmoil is incredibly low. The average acceptance also needs to be very high, and then you have successfully solved the matter of Hungary, because they would no longer want independence. If you complete it, you lose Young Hungary movement, right? So this makes it so that the Hungarians are a whole lot more angry. Interesting. I wonder under which circumstances you can press this. Man, I am super looking forward to the journal entries here. They seem very promising with what you can do there and what the outcomes are. They seem very manifold, whereas, you know, for example, in Brazil, you only really have one outcome, and that is you taking all of the cultures in, and that is just the way this goes. This right here really seems to kind of come up with a whole bunch of different outcomes, and that's always awesome to see, because it does ultimately mean that in every playthrough, Austria turns out slightly differently depending on how things go. And we can also actually see Prussia is invading Denmark in 1840. That's very early, but they have become very competent, in fact, when it comes to, you know, destroying Denmark and trying to form Germany. Here we can actually see this in a later screenshot as well, that Germany has indeed formed. Oh, we can see it right here in 1930. Oh, I see Germany. And they definitely annexed Wallonien, because Wallonien is technically, I think, a part of the German homelands, because Luxembourg is. But Luxembourg clearly still exists here. That's disgusting. We also see a really ugly Hungary, okay? Okay, wait a minute. What do we see here? I don't know what's happening here. There's a lot of countries here. It looks like we just have like Macedonia. We have a really deep running kind of Austria, right? It goes all the way into Albania. Italy didn't unify. They still haven't managed this. And the Ottomans clearly have fallen apart in one way or another. Oh, is that Russia? Oh, that is Russia. This is actually Russia. They really got to the Mediterranean Sea, I suppose. Yeah, the Ottomans have suffered. That is interesting to see. But what is way more interesting here is this pop right there. Serbian Orthodox officers, first of all. I believe that this is a new outfit, right? It looks great. Nothing wrong with it. They are middle class in the social class. Yeah, nothing new here. See, from this one, I don't think we can glean anything new. We see culture, we see religion, but I think the changes to these things were done inside of the actual culture and religion rather than in the pop window. So sadly, not too much I can learn from this. Other than that, yeah, I don't see anything here that is too interesting. Moldavia clearly got annexed by Austria as well. Yeah, this is a... If they showed us the actual map here, I think it would be very ugly, but okay. Let's move on right here. This right here is, of course, Clemens von Metternich. Now, I will say, I think he looked a little bit cooler in real life. Okay, that's all I'm saying. The interesting element here to me personally is actually that we are not seeing a unique type of ideology, right? We have this, for example, with the French, of course, when it comes to their dynasties. He's just authoritarian. He's not a special authoritarian to any degree. He's just a guy who really likes law and order, and that is indeed who he was. Meticulous, masterful diplomat, and experienced political operator. Yeah, say what you will, okay, but he was a bit of a beast, if you ask me. This man, of course, was terrible in so many ways. He established this order of restoration, right, where everything was forced to be illegal when it comes to newspapers and so on, to poetry. We call this in Germany, we call this the Biedermeierzeit. All of this was, of course, in a situation that he kind of purposely created, and with the very first invention of now actually record keeping on the scale that it was done, starting in this period, and then all of the way coming, of course, into the modern age, in a way where people are recorded that has never existed before this, right? He facilitated this. He created this system. It is incredible if you are an absolutist, not so incredible for literally everybody else. Now, right here, we have some interesting stuff, I guess, on the map, right? We have Hungary, we have Croatia, and we have indeed, what is this? This Transylvania. And I think this is the historical separation of this situation. This right here even belonged to Cisleitanian still, right? I think anyway that is the case. Okay, so we are really kneeling into the idea of decentralization here, which makes me very hopeful actually that we might see federalization as a proper law. Let's move on to the age of Metternich. And now this one is really cool. First of all, I don't think that I am seeing a new building set type here, which is really disappointing for me. I love the building sets in Victoria 3. The French one is so good, but yeah, I can't see it here. Okay, so this is clearly the same screenshot, right? Prussia's at war with Denmark, nothing wrong there. The aftermath of the Napoleonic Wars has established Austria as a leading conservative power in Europe. The leading architect of this conservative order, Clemens von Metternich, has served as Chancellor of Austria since the tumultuous year of 1821. His agenda calls for upholding the Austrian autocracy, the maintenance of the conservative peace in Europe, and the promotion of the arts and sciences. The Metternich agenda. Realizing various items on Chancellor von Metternich's agenda will improve the effects of this journal entry. These achievements will be scored upon this journal entry successfully completing. So again, the trend that I'm basically seeing right here in this DLC is that they are learning from what content they have done previously, where now they're going, hey, it would be really interesting if you got kind of, partial successes rather than just either everything or nothing. This is, of course, something that you see a lot, for example, in CK3 as well, where in CK3, very often you just either get everything or nothing. And they are staggering this here, which is smart for gameplay purposes, right? You're never getting hard stuck or too much. The time will carry on, but you are going to benefit more or less, and maybe way more importantly, in my opinion anyway, this should make it way more interesting to just look at Austria, not to play it, but to see what happens in Austria in your playthrough, because it will differ from your last one. Now let's take a look at this right here. Prevented Italian unification. Okay. Germany has not been unified by any other country, so it gives you reasons to oppose these things. Austria is the leading producer of fine art. Austria owns the entire state region of West Galicia. This is Krakow. Austria has researched 52 technologies, currently 47. Honestly, not sure what the expected speed there would be. Metternich system has more than 12 members, currently 9. Okay, so this is you kind of expanding. Them still calling it Metternich system, of course, a bit odd, but okay, be that as it may, it's flavor, I guess. Cohesion of the Metternich system is greater than 75, currently 77. Ideological power blocks kind of suck for cohesion, so I hope that this isn't too painful. All liberal or socialist political movements have marginal support. That is a huge one, okay. Of course, with 1848, very unlikely. Austria has autocracy, censorship, and secret police, so you want to stick to this. And home affairs and law enforcement institutions are at level 3 or higher. This is really good because it encourages you to stay reactionary. There is, of course, the other direction where you can kind of throw this out of the window and just become liberal, become, you know, very friendly towards your population and so on. But this says, hey, wait a minute, we're gonna reward you for playing in a quote-unquote suboptimal playstyle. Really, really cool. I like the design of this in particular because it is, of course, something that encourages a playstyle that people normally only do if they have to or if they want to roleplay right, like really, really hard. And additionally, it makes it so that you have partial success states right here. It will complete if Franz Josef von Habsburg-Lothringen is either 18 and or has, oh no, actually it means both of them, has become Kaiser. If completed, he will peacefully retire, okay, and it triggers the event the end of an age. It will fail if at least one of these, I assume that this is a liberal movement in revolution. That's kind of weird, right? Okay, I guess it makes sense. So this is the timeline that we didn't get, right? Metternich didn't retire like this. He retired because of 1848. I suppose that this right here is at the end of the day, you know, if you work that out. And then this would be if 1848, 1849 pops off and indeed his order falls apart. There's nothing else here that I would want to point out. Yeah, okay. The von Habsburg proposal. Ludwig von Habsburg, an influential figure within the armed forces, has presented a proposal to restore the Emperor King's authority through federalizing the empire. His proposal has become popular amongst like-minded members of the court. This is the reform Austria needs, and we cannot hope to manage this now. So this is the USGA, I believe. This right here. Yeah, there you go. Aurel Popovici, the United States of Greater Austria. Then right here we have National Awakening, and this one is really interesting. First of all, let's take a quick gander at this map. When I say map, I want you to look at this right here. This, first of all, looks tasty. I really want to eat this right here. These sausages, those pickles, that's good stuff. Okay, that's all I can say. However, this is in the place, I think, of the homemade bomb from the France DLC, so I'm not sure that I'm gonna have this on my screen. That's all I can say. These are top contenders right there. Map-wise, in 1929, what are we seeing? First of all, Serbia has 17 construction. That is humiliating. Serbia has only, I think they have taken southern Serbia. At least I believe they have. Yeah, they have. Okay. Oh, this is actually the exact map that we were looking at earlier in the other screenshot. I recognize this by the terrible looking Moldavia. Yeah, and this is Russia, like I said. Jesus, that's disgusting. We have an independent India, so this still happens. Iran blob properly. We see blobbing into Japan. We see it into China. Not too much changing there. Makes a lot of sense at the end of the day. Germany is formed, and it forms very proactively now. Oh, and look at Finland being a Swedish vassal. Interesting stuff. Okay, nothing wrong with this. But way more importantly, in my opinion anyway, wait a minute. First of all, what is this symbol? Is this symbol has to be, oh, they formalized raising cultural fervor or something. So you have a button right now as, oh, I hope that this is available for Italy and Italy stops sucking. I think that this interaction essentially says, hey, I will raise cultural fervor of my people in your country. They will be more likely to rebel and then I can pop in. Did they finally? Oh my God, did they? This is such a big DLC. I didn't even think about it. First of all, the map also looks great, by the way. Again, Navy map, I think still pretty. Anyway, I think they have fixed secessions because in secessions right now, and I've tried to mod them, they really suck. It's super random who rebels, yada, yada, yada. And most importantly, the mother nation basically never gets called in. There is supposedly an event that gets called when this happens, but it never fires for anybody meaningful. I think that this is Serbia agitating in Hungary, in this province right there, right? For the Serbian people. This makes Hungary, of course, angry, but it strengthens the cultural fervor of Serbians. That is super interesting. Brazil has collapsed into a republic, and we can now see something here as well. While Serbia has taken its first step towards nationhood, it remains a land of peasants. Much of our populace continues to view the world through the lens of village and clan, rather than that of national brotherhood. We must foster cultural fervor amongst our populace and construct a unified nation from the Serbian people. The fervor of the Serbian culture is affected by the following conditions. Average literacy of Serbian pops, okay, so the higher, the more will they be interested in a national concept, makes sense. Quantity of of Serbian academics. Yep, this is your intelligentsia that defines what is your nation. Do keep in mind, this is exactly what this is, and I see that Brazil is fighting a war in Africa. That's disgusting. Do keep in mind, this is where nationalism comes from. At the end of the day, this is how it works. You are trying to construct this identity so that you have a very clear border to whoever doesn't belong to it. Serbian countries researching nationalism and pan-nationalism. Average acceptance of Serbian pops. Independent or formerly independent Serbian countries. So I assume whether they have tried to rebel. Will complete if Serbia is not a subject of another nation, Serbia does not have subjecthood enacted, and current cultural fervor of Serbian is greater or equal to 75. Right now, I guess it's 35.6. I think cultural fervor plays into a rework which pops see which nation as a mother nation, probably have an impact on lobby formation, and probably then of course play into secessions as well, where once one secession pops off, they all kind of consider popping off and going in there. If they make secessions good and fun, this might actually be a patch in my eyes that rivals 1.9, okay? Because this is one of those things that has been a thorn in my side for half an eternity, having modded for Victoria 3 so long. Secessions suck. Italy as a unification place sucks because secessions suck. If this also takes over in the Italian journal entry, I would be a huge fan. To be honest with you, that is very promising. We also see the Confederation of the Andes and a fully united USA. That's interesting. Triggers the event the Serbian revival, and you can have possible effects there as well. Will fail if has formed Yugoslavia. Interesting stuff. Then right here we have Josef Radetzky von Radetz. You can see a classic map right there. Yep, this is Croatia, Slavonia, Hungary, and Transylvania. Nothing too new right here. This is a historical character. That is why they're showing him to us. This is Stanko Petrovic Njegos. He is moderate and also an army general. He seems nice. Oh, we do get proper buildings. We do get proper buildings. Look at the castle. Look at the... Oh, this is gorgeous. Okay, so I guess the Balkans are getting the visuals rather than Austria, which means, first of all, look at this weaponry. I don't want to screw with this guy. So that means I hope that whenever the German DLC comes out, we're getting German buildings as well. That's cool. This stuff looks awesome. Were there any other? I don't think so. Yeah, Vienna still looks the way that it did. This right here is Czechia. They also didn't change. I think it must be like all of this area, I guess. Something like this is who gets this. Yeah, nobody else seems to have it. Interesting. Super, super interesting. I love this. These are great visuals right here. And we do see it here as well. So this is Montenegro, from rebels to nation. We receive plus 100 bucks in Russian aid. You can probably petition for more. And then raiding. Raiding is earning us 595 bucks, I assume, every week, which is basically the entire budget of this country. Super, super interesting stuff. We're going to see how this pans out, but I do like this implementation. Then we also have the first school. As person is seen to the establishment of the first school in Montenegro, he should organize the curriculum, he could personally train more teachers, or he will ensure the kids learn to fight. Alright, cool. So they're adding more content related to this as well. Then we have the Serbian uprising right here, following an assembly in Sremski Karlovci. Representatives of the Serbian nation in Hungary have risen in revolt, intent on carving out a Serbian-ruled realm north of the river Sava. I don't think that this is a natural one. I think that this is part of the Hungarian Revolution, right? So we are Hungary, and this did happen in Galicia, Lodomeria. We also saw Polish people kind of rising up against the rules that had been put into place against them there. Not necessarily even against Austria or for Poland, but against those rules at the time. You can see the French Republic is blobbing as well. Interesting stuff. Okay, so we're getting these events. Mobilize the army and strike these Viennese lapdogs down, or for the Honored Cross and Golden Liberty. So clearly this relates to loyalty shown for Hungary, or indeed for the other side, so for the Austrians. I really, really like what we're seeing right here. And if they are doing even just an inch of what I'm hoping for when it comes to the question of secession place, huge, huge update. Folks, I'm going to leave you right here. Let me know what you think about my interpretations, and I will see you next time when we, of course, get to talk about, well, I suppose, cultural fervor and the rework to culture and religion traits. Let's check this out next week. For now, I will leave you right here, and I will see you later, alligator.